well. I hope you're all being safe, and I hope you're making the most of life, because this is what this video today is going to be about, making the most of life. But there's a few things I want to talk about anyway, so this is probably not put the kettle on kind of video. So anyway, what's happening in Canada? Well, Castro Jr. has lost this one already. He can't win it. He can't possibly win this. And it seems insane that he's actually not, acquiescing to the demands of the truckers concerning the needlecraft, but also the truckers being very smart have widened it into a bigger thing. You can see how evil, and the evil is a real force in the world, things are when you have the Canadian Broadcasting Company having editorials on, well, what is freedom really? What is it really? And you can see the same interlopers working in Ottawa that we saw in Dublin during the protests. During the protests in Dublin, there was one outside the GPO on O'Connell Street, fairly big one too. This is to the height of this was probably in 2020. And two women who were obviously middle class were wearing T-shirts with RTE should hang their heads in shame. RTE, the national broadcaster. And they instead of spelling THEIR, they spelled THERE. These were obviously plans. These were obviously set up to go there. This was obviously a plan. And I've seen them in Ottawa as well. They're holding up signs with freedom, DUM on it. DUMB. And this is, they'll always send these things out. See, their playbook is very limited. They can't really operate and function outside this particular playbook they have because they can't create. And we'll talk about this as quite a deeper subject. Now, the situation in Ottawa is really terrorizing the globalists. It's absolutely terrorizing them. If there's one thing that a left-wing Marxist trade union leader, trade union representative, liberal hates. If there's one thing in the morning that when a liberal wakes up and hates to the core of their guts, it's a working class person who's making a living. If when a lefty wakes up in the morning with his copy, his annotated copy of Das Kapital by Engels on the bedside next to him, or her, the first thing they think about in the morning is how much they hate the working class. Likewise, a trade union leader who probably doesn't even have a job, is probably paid by the union, and trade union rep, when they wake up in the morning, the first thing they do is they think of their hatred of the working class people. And the reason for this is the trade union movement has moved into the middle class, and particularly bureaucrats and civil servants. In Ireland, the trade union movement exclusively represents, when I say exclusively, I mean exclusively like a gentleman's club, sports club, a private golf or tennis club, exclusively represents the upper middle class through the public sector unions, particularly the civil servants. And this was brought home back in 2008 when the economy here collapsed and there was a worry about a run on the banks. And the head of the unions, who was also on the Bank of Ireland, Central Bank Board, David Begg, said that the army must be posted at banks through machine gun. Well, he didn't say machine gun, but that's what would happen. Through machine gun, any citizens who wanted to do a run on the banks and take their cash out. Now, the reason for this was not because he was trying to stabilize the economy. The primary aspect of his thing was to make sure that all the perks that the civil servants enjoy through their trade union representatives were not damaged in any way. This is why the primary function of the recovery of this country from 2008 on was the protection of the trade unions. The trade unions in this country have a hatred of the working class, just like they have a hatred of the working class in Canada and every other where else. Trade unions have been taken up exclusively a public sector middle class thing, an upper middle class. They're like organised charities. They're basically at the top, it's just nothing but psychopaths. Now, and they're incredibly selfish. So this is why you will have trade unions in Ottawa attacking the truck drivers. Why? Because the truck driver is one of the few jobs that a working class person, and this is why it really appeals to immigrants. If they can take, there's a huge demand for truck drivers because it's a very difficult job. People have no idea how difficult the truck driver's job is, especially in somewhere like Canada or United States or on mainland Europe. You're talking about incredibly long distances, incredibly bad, difficult lives. If you have a family and stuff like that. But the money's all right when you're starting out, and it's good. If you have a truck driver's license, you've got a basically guaranteed employment. And it's a great way for guys and women who don't have, like, say, a third level education to do all right for themselves. And they've done all right during the lockdown because the supermarkets, the real heroes, the people who work in supermarkets, were kept open. And they had to deliver all this. During this period, they woke up and they realized the power they had as an organization. And because they're the Canadian truck drivers, with the help of the American ones too, are doing this in Ottawa without the sanction of the trade unions, has made them the enemy of the trade unions. Because this is the first time in history that I can actually think of a working class revolt that didn't involve Marxism at some level. And Marxism was basically created by somebody who never worked a day in his life, or an idle rich fucker, just like all the ones in Antifa and everything like that. So it's very interesting for that aspect alone. Also, a lot of these truckers are also private business people, because it's one of the jobs an immigrant or a working class person can elevate themselves up. They work the long hours. Eventually, they may be able to get a loan from the bank to buy their own rig. And then the world's their oyster. They can actually subcontract out to big shipping agencies and so on and do really well for themselves. Now, this is something that the establishment absolutely hate. They absolutely hate. Because the people who grow up, if you went to an Irish or a British trade union meeting, chances are they'll be waving not in British flags or Irish flags, but Palestinian flags and rainbow flags. This movement has come up organically from the true grassroots of Canadian society, and that's why they're waving the maple leaf flag, the flag of Canada, because it's the true grassroots of Canadian society, and that's why they're waving the maple leaf flag, the flag of Canada, because there's one thing the globalists hate next to working class people. It's people who love their country, have a genuine love of their country. They hate that. They despise it, because they know that at some level there's a great beauty in that. There's a great beauty, just like because we have a beautiful tribe, we know that there's a beauty in that. Okay, there's a special beauty in that we as the tribe have. But we're also members of countries, whether you're English, Irish, American, Canadian, New Zealander, Australian, South African, doesn't matter, Polish, Nigerian, whatever. You have a special affinity to your homeland. And it doesn't, and you see, the lefty is incapable of understanding that. You see, the lefty is incapable of understanding that you can love your country without hating another country. You can love your country and just as much love another country. So like a Canadian person can love Canada and love Ireland. An Irish person can love Ireland and love Italy. An Italian person can love Italy and love Germany. And it's just how we are. That's not. They try to conflate love of one's land with hatred of all other lands, which is absolutely not true. Now, this is an Abrahamic thing. If you look at history before Abrahamism, you show me where there's religious wars. Show me where there are religious wars. Yes, there's wars over territory. Yes, there's wars over, kingships and bloodlines and things like that. Yes, there's war over resources. There's absolutely no wars you can find over religion. When Alexander the Great went into the Hindu Kush, he didn't say, we classical pagans are here to destroy the Hindu Vedic, infidels. It was just purely a matter of resources and conquest. And